Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are all over the world. I am Eleonora Salas, Director of Studies at ICANA Binational Center in Córdoba, Argentina. Welcome to the last webinar of our Teaching Capacity Building Program 2020. We are hosting this program with the support of the US Embassy through a series of webinars that have been delivered since August by English language teaching specialists from all over Argentina, who are all alumni of US Embassy-sponsored programs. They are kindly sharing their expertise and best practices during these extraordinary times of remote teaching and learning. Today we have a special guest of honor on behalf of the US Embassy in Argentina. I want to introduce Cultural Affairs Officer Acting Mike McLean. Mike is a third tour public diplomacy officer. His first tour was in Mexico City, and he most recently completed a tour in Kabul, both of which were in the consular section. Mike began his career with the State Department in the civil service as a staff assistant in the front office for the Bureau of International Information Programs. While working for the Bureau, Mike also completed a 3-month temporary duty assignment as the acting public affairs in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. He is originally from upstate New York. He holds bachelor's degrees in international relations, master's in public relations, master's in international relations, all from Syracuse University. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mike.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. As Eleonora said, my name is Mike McLean, and I'm the new Cultural Affairs Officer here at the US Embassy in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I'm just newly arrived. I got here about a month ago. So I'm very excited to be here in Argentina finally with the pandemia. It's been a long road to get to this point. So I'm very excited to be here in Argentina and to be with all of you this afternoon. I also want to welcome you or join in welcoming you to the last webinar of this online professional capacity building program on English teaching. And specifically, I wanted to thank Dr. Eleonora Salas, the academic director of the Binational Center in Córdoba, and her team for organizing this amazing virtual program. Personally, from my time as a Rotary Youth Exchange student when I was in high school and a Born Fellow in college, both in Brazil, I understand personally how important learning a new language is and how many doors it opens. It set me on my path to become a US diplomat, and you all are helping open similar doors for your students. So it's absolutely amazing. Thank you also to our amazing Argentine Embassy Programs alumni team for your willingness to share your study abroad experiences in the United States. And lastly, I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of you, the teachers and prospective teachers, for participating in this initiative. At the US Embassy in Argentina, we are convinced that educators and future educators are the most important change makers to create a better world, even in difficult times like the current pandemic. Education will really help us overcome this adversity and build stronger bonds. Thank you, enjoy the program, y muchas gracias por su atención. Eleonora?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you to the US Embassy for your generous sponsoring of this teaching capacity building program and your unconditional support to the many initiatives and projects organized by BNCs and American Spaces all over the world, and especially in Argentina, to strengthen the cultural and friendship ties between the United States and Argentina. our deepest gratitude. Now I would like to present our presenter for today, Gonzalo. To all those who have been recurrent participants in our webinars, we know him very well, but I will remind you what Gonzalo has been doing. He is a graduate teacher from Universidad Nacional de Tucumán. He has worked in public schools and teacher training colleges. He has developed his own private language studio, hands-on English studio. He has been involved in different global projects, SOS for Lab project, but I love dyslexia, Global Connect by Happy World Foundation, and the School of Tomorrow by What If Curiosity-Based Learning. With his motto, Teachers Never Stop Learning, he has participated in a wide array of professional development opportunities, many by the US Department of State. Among those, he highlights having been chosen for the Advanced Certificate in English program from Oregon University, specializing in language assessment, thanks to the US Embassy in Argentina. This opportunity has offered him a wider and deeper view on English language teaching and bolstered his reflection on what the 21st century demands from us educators. And this has encouraged him to keep himself proactive and open to share what has been learned with colleagues. So thank you again, Gonzalo. Today, he will be presenting from individual work to a hands-on experiential learning journey. Over to you, Gonzalo.
Thanks, Eleonora. Well, today it's our last meeting, at least for this year, we hope so. And I'm going to share with you, and today we're going to share a webinar that's a very personal webinar, okay? I'm going to share with you, I'm going to share with you a personal journey that I've been through that started in different points in my life, but it's nice to share. It's nice to have our own narrative to share with other teachers and encourage ourselves to write that narrative by ourselves. So it's from individual work to hands-on experiential learning journey. And I chose a bridge to start off because we are always crossing bridges and we are always getting somewhere else. And crossing bridges, something that we might feel, we might take a look at this one and say, okay, I'm not quite sure about taking a leap and walk on that bridge, but well, it's part of being teachers and educators. So nowadays, education is similar to, I don't know, to a jungle where we should need a machete to cut off the trees and the weeds and all that, or is it more similar to like a desert? Okay. We might have different experiences. We might have different views on education nowadays. Probably at one institution, we might have a very pleasant experience, and maybe at some other institution, the experience might be not so good for us, okay? Experiences may vary, okay? But it's always us, it's always the teacher, the educator, and the student. And a few years ago, I was like in the middle of this crossroads, asking myself, okay, so what is education to me? What am I supposed to do as an educator? What I'm doing, is it useful? Is it useful for students? Shall I just settle down with what I have? Shall I just say, okay, that's it, that's all I can achieve? Is there any better way to do things? Would I find a better way to, I don't know, to establish a relationship with my students, with the subject, whether it's at the public school, at a language institution, a language studio, teacher training college? Would I find a better way to do things, or shall I quit? That's a question that even came to my mind. Shall I quit? Shall I change and find a different job? And at that moment, when I was asking myself those questions, something came as a shock to me. I was in a theater here in Tucumán. That day, a teacher training program was about to be launched as part of a public program that was offered by the Ministry of Education. And there I had a chance to meet Pablo Aristizabal, Okay, he's an Argentinian teacher. He's the one who's in charge of Los Creadores, the creators, which is a TV series, a very well-known and very much awarded TV series. Okay, and there he talked about it was almost noon, and we were all hungry, and we all wanted to go home and have lunch. And he started to talk about the power of reading, the power of a mother reading to a child, of a father reading to a child, the power that reading might have to foster imagination, to foster creativity, to foster innovation. And he shared that he has won lots of awards. He has been awarded everywhere. Regarding Spanish-speaking online programs and series, he got all the awards possible. But he said that he always needed to come back to reading, and he believed that reading was essential for any kind of educational process. So he was trying to establish a program so any child that would be born within Argentina will receive 4 books when he will turn 1, and then 4 other books when he will turn 2. And he tried to carry on with that program until that kid will turn 12, and by that time he would have read already 48 books. That was his dream. So far, it hasn't happened, but all the same, it's a dream, and he's been working to do that, to achieve that. And at that moment, I was so inspired by his talk. We even stayed like an extra hour. Imagine, we were like 600 teachers, and we'd all stay there for 1 more hour just to listen to him talking about the power of reading and how much that can do to foster quality education for everyone. And mainly one of the triggers was that he said that when a kid sits at the table for lunch, they will watch so many violent programs on TV, and they will learn so many swear words that we should make something to change that. And that would be reading, fostering reading and fostering literacy. And to me, that was a great change. And I have that selfie with him because at that moment, I decided that I wanted to have a picture with him. It was the first time that I would approach a speaker that will break that barrier between the speakers and the audience, and I will come over and ask for a selfie. That was the first time that we talked. And then we met again many times later, a couple of months later, and we could talk again about that. And I always share with him the power that that talk had on me. Okay. The first steps are the hardest, are always the hardest, because we had to go against conformism, against traditional way of thinking, and we had to break a lot of resistance. Because as a teacher, I say, okay, I had to do something different in my classroom. I had to do something different. Something must happen in my classroom that must be a difference for me and for my students. Not only for my students, but also for me. There was a need to feel better at school. There was a need to feel better with my students. So it was a lot of struggles, and I had to talk to other teachers, and as I said, these barriers of conformism, tradition, and resistance are always there. So whenever we want to go to make a breakthrough, or we want to be innovative, there are always barriers there. So don't be scared of that. So there was a wow moment in my life. It was 2018. And I saw a post on Facebook, believe it or not, where they were talking about a possible scholarship for advanced certification in ELT. And I said, okay, why shouldn't I apply? I say, okay, I got into the website. I started filling in the form, and there was the price of this course. I said, okay, I cannot afford that. And there it says you can apply for this scholarship, and I applied. A couple of months later, I got an email with all the information to log into the University of Oregon website, into to the Moodle for this course. And at first, I thought it was a joke. And I started to talk to other teachers and said, okay, even I talked to a couple of American friends. I said, okay, I have received this. Do you think it's true? Might this be true? Because, when we talk about scholarships, we generally say, okay, if you're over 40, you will never get a scholarship. And I was already over 40. And I said, okay, is this true? Is this happening to me? And I couldn't believe it. So it was September, and I got another email saying, okay, tomorrow you had to log in. And I said, okay, I'm going to log in and see what happens. And I logged in, and I saw that, well, suddenly I was there in that Moodle from the University of Oregon, and I had an amazing teacher, Andy Haverson, and he was such a great mentor and a great teacher and a great leader for the whole group. And we were a group of teachers from Argentina, and some of them you already know, Romina, Eduardo, Clarita, and they are amazing teachers and educators and colleagues, and we were all together in that group. And I hadn't met them before, but we started to meet and to share and to connect there in this course. And it was a wow moment because I couldn't believe it. So there, during the first week, I got to see this quote: "We can't direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails." And at that moment, it was like I don't know, it was opening my eyes and see education in a very different way, because I know that we were struggling against a very difficult wind, but I understood that I could adjust the sails in different ways and try to improve my experience in the classroom for me, for my students, for the whole community, and start building a learning community at my school, for instance. So there you have the first steps that we had, and I couldn't believe how important that was to me. The first module was about reflection, something that we are all supposed to do, but sometimes we all forget. The power of reflection, the power of reflecting on our acts, the power of reflecting on, for instance, our personal language teaching philosophy. I had never been asked about that. And we were supposed to write, at the moment we were supposed to write like 2,000 words on our personal language teaching philosophy. Of course, we had a lot of activities before that, and our tutor scaffolded the whole experience. But getting to write about our personal language teaching philosophy, how we saw for instance, the communicative language approach, okay? How we saw that. What was our vision on ELT? And then we started to think about 21st century education, okay, global education, the 4 C's, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. How can we foster that in the classroom? And then the question that changed it all was, okay, which are your future goals as a teacher? And at that moment, I was saying, okay, I already have a job. So what else may I ask for? And at that moment, it was like, I tell you, it was like an earthquake. They were just shaking my ground, and started to think, okay, which are my future goals? So I can still have other goals. And I started to think about different things that I wanted to do, states that I wanted to achieve as a teacher. Part of that is the teaching capacity building program. And there you have me, okay? You can see that I'm happy as I don't know what, okay? I'm really happy the moment I got my certificate via mail. And there you have me with Noris Cerda, all right, from the US Embassy, who helped me so much, who's been there supporting all of us so much. So I wanted her to be here on this webinar too. So whenever you decide to teach, who dares to teach must never cease to learn, okay? Who dares to teach must never cease to learn. And that changed my view of education. And I decided I would never stop learning, that I would never stop learning. I would never just satisfy myself with what I had achieved regarding learning, okay? Because, well, jobs may come and go, teaching positions may come and go, but what we feel inside, how we envision ourselves, and the goals that we set to ourselves are our identity. Okay, it's not where we work, or it's how we work with what we have. Okay, it's not only wanting another job, but liking the job that we have right now, and why not creating what we need for another kind of job too, okay? So whoever dares to teach must never cease to learn. So we always need to learn. And from then on, after this advanced certification in ELT, I had taken lots of MOOCs, those massive open online courses that have been so helpful on so many topics. And I've been sharing that with other teachers. So some other teachers might get this too, might benefit from this too. And somehow I started to create a community of teachers here for listening here in Tucumán. And well, from that year, from 2018, I have met many other teachers whom I have been working with. Because one of the things that I discovered in the advanced certification of ELT is that we cannot do this alone. We need some other teacher. And so I started meeting different teachers, thanks to an International Congress of Education that takes place here in Argentina. For instance, well, I have already told you about Matt Mary from the United States, okay? And well, here you have him. We have some students here from school here in Tucumán, and Fernanda, a colleague of mine. And we work with these kids trying to foster SDGs. And that's one of the things that I learned from Matt Mary. How to foster SDGs in the classroom, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are not only just a title or something that we should just, I don't know, take up a project on this topic. It's like, it might be the backbone of education right now and education for the future too, okay? Because we have an agenda to fulfill for the 2030, okay? So these Sustainable Development Goals are not there just to be looked at, but are to be taken up into the classroom as part of all our curriculum. That's what I learned from him, and that's what I'm trying to do with my students too. And all with the base of his curiosity-based learning approach on education. So I'm really thankful to Matt. And as you can see, what I'm sharing today is like a scrapbook, okay? It's like a scrapbook of pictures from a different journey, okay? From a journey that I've taken from these years. Then I had this amazing teacher that I met, Angeliki Papa from Greece. And there you have us with Paola and Milagros. We worked with her when she was here in Tucumán 2 years ago, and last year too. And we worked on learning from her and learning a lot from her about her vision on education, how she developed I Lost Dyslexia, and how she created a new paradigm on education from the dyslexic brain, okay? She considers that the dyslexic brain is not something that is ill or sick. On the contrary, it's a new approach to the whole world. And she believes that the dyslexic brain, it's like a gift that we have received to have a new education, to have a new vision on education. And so she shared with us her SOS for Love project. And I worked with that with my students, and we created a project called Eco Bricks for the Future. So we created eco bottles for our students to create, and we made those eco bottles, and we shared them, and we gave them, to an organization that built up a house, okay, for the homeless. So it was education with a purpose, okay? We learned in English how to make eco bottles. We sent a message to the world by means of a video, and we sent that message to the world, okay, as part of this SOS for Love project, because thanks to Angeliki Papa, I have started to understand that the brain, something that needs to be nurtured, something that needs to be taken care of in many different ways. As you've seen in one of the webinars, I talked about the power of songs in order to have a better understanding of the language, a better atmosphere in the classroom. Okay, that's part of the things that I have learned with her. And this idea of, she shares this idea of pedagogy for love, which is not only a daydreaming concept, but she has researched and created a whole library of technical backup behind what she calls pedagogy for love. So whenever you have time, try to visit her website, try to take a look at what the SOS for Love project is, try to include that in your classroom, not only as one single project, but probably you can learn how to have a different perspective on education from her point of view. Okay. Then I've been working also with Steve Revington, a retired teacher from Canada, okay, from Canada, whose idea is that learning should be authentic. As you can see, we are there in that picture. We were there waiting for the journalist to ask him questions, and he told me, if they ever ask me to get close to the books and start browsing the book just for the pictures, I will burn the books. That's what he told me. He will do whatever you think, except just taking a look at a book in a passive way. So he considers that education should be for others. We should learn for others. Okay, as he says, content without purpose is only trivia. Okay, content without purpose is only trivia. If we want our students just to learn English just for the sake of learning, that would be trivia. Okay, students will learn vocabulary and words, and that will be just for the sake of it. But he says we should learn for others. So, for instance, we've been talking about creating projects at schools. For instance, students from higher courses, what if they prepared, I don't know, a puppet show for the youngest kids in an institution? So they will learn to do something for the youngest ones. And the youngest one will feel much motivated because the older ones are coming over for them, are coming closer to them. So why don't we just try to make them work together? For instance, we talked about a system of tutors. So the ones who are better in English, for instance, at institutions might help the ones who are weaker. Okay, so it's not only learning for myself, but it's learning for others. Why don't we just create, as I have done in some school, we created a living museum. That's what he has done in Canada. But well, my students did not have that mastery of the language. So we created a living museum with very simple elements where each student could create a character, okay, a real character, and they will talk like if they were in character all the time. So we had 2 hours one day at school where my students they had this really big room where we have all kinds of meetings at school, and there are my students where they are living. They created, they embodied the living museum, and they were in character. I don't know, they were the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus. They were Daniel Radcliffe from Harry Potter, and each one would share what they know about the character. So authentic learning is when you learn for others. Okay, it's not only when you learn for yourself, but you learn for others. Sean Robinson from Canada too. And here I have a picture which is not very flattering to me, I know, but I decided to share this picture because it's what we have done with Sean Robinson. We've been connecting teachers and classrooms and students, and his connection-based learning is superb. To me, it's like a whole new approach towards education. Nobody learns alone. As you can see, I'm trying to connect the different approaches that I have learned. And this one is like the glue that sticks all together because it's connection-based learning. We learn when we talk to, for instance, the teacher shouldn't know everything. I mean, no teacher can know everything, okay? We cannot be, I don't know, an open book for everything. There are things that we don't know. So we should search for help for others, for experts, okay? For instance, another speaker of the language, okay? Or another group of students or the community, okay? So we've been creating projects to work with different students and different groups of students, okay? And here we were talking with a group of teachers from Canada, how to connect classrooms, for instance, from the language point of view. But I was sharing there at that moment something that we'll share later. I think it's the next one. Yes, it's this one. Something that I have learned with Akash Patel. Akash Patel is a Hindu teacher who has decided to live in the United States. He went to the United States with his twin brother. His twin brother then died. And that's why they created the Happy World Foundation, because Happy was the name of his past brother. So Akash has been trying to connect classrooms following this idea of connection-based learning. He's been trying to connect classrooms all over the world. I'm a volunteer to his foundation, and lots of teachers here from Tucumán and from other parts of Argentina and the world. We're in total 1,000 volunteers in different languages: Spanish, English, German, Chinese, Portuguese, French, many different languages. And so we've been connecting classrooms. And for instance, I have connected, imagine my students, some of my students, for instance, the group that I have at public school, they are experts in Spanish, but they're not experts in English. So we connected classroom with Spanish students in the United States. So my students were experts to these other students. So they are, first of all, they lowered the anxiety to the bottom, okay? And then they were able to booster their self-esteem to the sky, because they knew, okay, so these kids in the United States want to learn Spanish, and I know Spanish. So they started to share. And then they had a chance to share in Spanish, in English too, okay? So they share in Spanish and they share in English, but they were much more relaxed the moment they had to talk in English. They were much more confident the moment they had to talk in English. And here you have a picture of two events that I've been through thanks to Akash Patel. One is, as I said, connecting classrooms. And there you have, I'm connecting my adult students from my studio with a great teacher from New York City. It's called Melissa Morris. She's a teacher who has a foundation called Music Teachers for Peace. And she works connecting classrooms. And so we share that day a lot of songs, because some of my students play instruments, and her students are, well, they're music students, so they play songs for us. We share a lot about culture with each other. And then you have this other picture where you have many different people, and there you have Akash in the center, and you have a group of teachers and a group of people from different parts of the world. And we have a meeting for 7 Saturdays this year. Different moments in the year, we had these 7 meetings in which we get to meet a change maker. Okay, and there you have the change maker that we met. That occasion was Rosemary Nirumbe from Uganda. She's called Mother Teresa of Africa, and we share how important it is for teachers to be leaders. It's not only that we can carry on with our classrooms well, okay, but we are also called nowadays to be leaders in our communities. Okay, and we talk about leadership with her, and that group is called the Global Ambassadors Institute, and we are people from Guatemala, from Peru, well, I'm the one that represents Argentina, from Turkey, from from Nepal, okay, from different countries. We all share that in English, but it's amazing that when we are talking, we start sweeping, we go from one language to another, we switch from one language to another, and it's so much fun. That, as a teacher, I don't include my students there, but what I do with my students is connecting the classrooms, okay, as I share it. So I was participating in a group called Comunidad Tenea from the Barkey Foundation, Athenic community. And there we started to talk about Philippe Perrenot, okay? And there I discovered that in 1994, he talked about the new competencies for teachers, and all the things that I have shared had to do with that, okay? That we should be able to scaffold learning situations and progression in that learning situation. That we should be able to differentiate, to have some sort of differentiation techniques in order to help students. And that's what I learned at the advanced certification of ELT, and also thanks to these experiences, that we should be able to engage not only students, but also the families, that we should face ethics situations, and we should be prepared for that, that we should, or that we need teamwork skills. Okay, and nowadays it's important. It's not only working, if you work at school, probably you shouldn't work alone. You should work with a teacher, Spanish language teacher, with a, I don't know, technology teacher together, with the art teacher, okay? Creating a learning situation for the students. It's important that we get close to ICTs, okay, to this new technology, close and familiar, and somehow we need to make headway with that, okay? We need to learn management skills for our institutions too. It's not only teaching alone, but it's also managing the situation at schools. And we should also be able to create a path for our PD, for our professional development. Okay, part of that is this teaching capacity building program. Okay, creating our own path as in our professional development. So, Bernard said, the reinvention of activities and material is essential for the personal improvement. Okay, for an appropriation of our professional tasks. Okay, reinventing ourselves. Well, we have been called upon that this year. No doubt about that. We had to plunge into the remote learning, and there we reinvented ourselves. But we cannot do it alone. And there you have some pictures of great teachers I've been working with. I'm so grateful to all of them, and so grateful to the whole teaching capacity building program, because we've been working together, offering this to you teachers. So what's next? That's a question I want to leave. What's next for you? But who are you walking with? Okay, who are you walking with? You have a new goal probably, and I hope that you have new goals as an educator. So who are you walking with? Don't do it alone. You have the whole teaching capacity building program just behind you, and also great other teachers. And sometimes the greatest professional development instructor is our teacher next door. Is the teacher that's next door to us. Okay. So in this very brief presentation, I just want to say thank you to all of you, to the U.S. Embassy here in Argentina, who have provided us with this amazing opportunity, to ICANA, who has been just there for all of us, the whole teaching capacity building program that is an amazing step towards acknowledging the value of all of us as educators, as instructors. So we're close to the end. Eleonora, I don't know if you have some Q&A questions. Q&A.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Yes, I'm trying to read. I read in the chat all these wonderful comments about you and thanking you, but I don't see any special questions. I think we are all moved and inspired, because that is the word that is recurring in the chat, is the inspiration that you have brought to us. And we are kind of sad that this is the closing of our program. At the beginning, we thanked all the support from the US Embassy, because, you know, without their support, we couldn't have put together such a wonderful program. I want to thank especially also to all the people, the team at ICANA. You mentioned ICANA, our binational center. We have a great team that, together with the embassy team and all the alumni team, could put together the program. Here at ICANA, my special thanks to Mariano Escudero, Fabiana Gelmetti, and Andrea Bricio, who are the people who have been working behind the scenes, because you see me, but you don't see them. Mariano, Andrea, if you want to turn on your cameras so people can see you, it's okay now. Thank you so much for putting this together. At the embassy, we have to thank deeply Nadine Gonzalez, Giselle Dubinsky, and our very special thanks to Noris Serda. From all of us, Noris, for your constant support, guidance, advice, love, and dedication to all the binational centers in Argentina and to all the alumni in Argentina. You could just say, turn on your camera, Noris, because we want to see you and we want to clap for you, everything you do for us. And I want to say, you know, these great 8 educators, please, all the panelists, all the presenters, could show up. Cecilia, Susana, Martín, Rita, Clara, Romina, Eduardo, Gonzalo, Martín. Thank you so much. You have contributed to this program by sharing your convictions, your thinking, your playlists, because you have shared your playlists of tools, resources, your best practices. You are a fantastic virtual team from all over Argentina with a unique belief that growth is essential in education. And for that, we are really grateful. We are also so grateful to all the attendees because this was put together for you. And thank you for all your questions, for your comments in the chat, for being there. We're going to miss being together because it's been like, you mentioned, Gonzalo, that education is about emotions and connections. And this was a wonderful opportunity to be connected. Sorry that I moved.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And I think we all agree that you helped us feel more empowered and inspired, and that we educators will rise to the challenge. So
I cannot appear, I'm not Iserda, but really, Eleonora, thank you very much. And for me, and using Gonzalo's words, you teachers are special people, really, and nobody learns alone. And teaching is a never-ending learning path. And from what I do, from my work, my daily work at the embassy, be sure that you are not alone, and that it's a matter of trying to connect each other and work together for the best, for a better world, for our students and teachers all over the world. I noticed they have that commitment, and I'm very lucky to have worked over 30 years with teachers, with English language teachers especially, and I think you are very, very committed to education and to become leaders, and you are leaders in your community and in your profession. So thank you very much. You have been very generous to join me in this project, and to join Eleonora and Icana. I did not have enough background or experience in putting this program together, but it was worth it. And I'm very proud of working with you people. You are excellent. Thank you for being there. And thank you to all the attendees that, has joined during these months. So I'm very proud. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Norris. You see that now we have so much to reflect, and all the presenters have really, guided us through this learning journey, this learning path that we all choose throughout our lives, just as our students do, okay? We help them, we guide them in their learning path, but they are directing themselves, just as we are. And we have a lot of food for thought. We have expanded our perspectives. We have updated our approaches. So we have a lot to move forward. And let me just finish with a blessing, okay? Just a very old blessing, but may you all be safe, may you all be healthy, and may you all be hopeful that better times are coming. So my huge hug to all of you.
See you soon, people. Hope to see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.